Hey friends, welcome to the PlatX2 channel. My name is John. On this channel, we talk all things physical media, some movies, music, and books. If you're into that kind of thing, go ahead and subscribe down below for more of that kind of content. So anyway, this is episode number 8 of the 5. We're getting really close to 10 now, and I'm really excited about that. These have all been fun conversations for me. I've loved getting to know people in the movie collecting, the YouTube community, and this conversation is no different. This one is with Tony from BasementBlus. And if you've been around the movie collecting community here on YouTube for any length of time, you are probably already subscribed to his channel. If you're not, all the information will be in the description below to him on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok. So follow him, subscribe to him in all those places, and it'd be well worth it. Very knowledgeable in film, massive, incredible collection, and just a super kind and humble guy. And so anyway, I loved this conversation. I had so much fun in it, and I walked away with a bunch of films on my list of ones that I need to check out, see, and will probably end up in my collection someday. So anyway, friends, I love this conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. Super thankful and humbled that Tony was able to do this conversation with me. And so I hope you enjoy this one, because I know I really enjoyed getting me in this conversation. If you're unfamiliar with this series, The 5, what we're doing is I'm having a conversation with people in the movie collecting community, and I ask 5 questions. And in those 5 questions, they all respond with 5 different films. So we get to talk movies, which is always fun. We get to end up with 25 film recommendations, which is always great, sometimes dangerous for your wallet. And we get to know the YouTuber maybe at a little deeper level as we talk about why certain films matter to us and what ones matter to us, what made a big mark on us when it comes to the films we enjoy. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this episode with Tony. I loved getting to have this conversation. And so anyway, here we go. Here's our conversation.
And it was just action-packed, a lot of violence.
Okay.
Blood. It was good. I can pull out my magnifying glasses. I keep it right here at my desk. People make fun of me, but it's from 1979.
Oh, 79. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so people make fun of my magnifying glass, but if you can't see something, why not have one, right?
Now, you just passed an anniversary on your channel.
Yeah, 9 years on YouTube.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah. I kept on thinking it was 8 years, but then it was 9 years. That's how old I am. I can't remember.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Tony, for doing this. I was super honored you said yes. You're one of those channels, you've got a monster channel that I obviously look up to and love watching and learned a lot from. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to do this one. Yeah,
I'm happy to do it.
Awesome. Well, before we get into the actual 5 questions, if it's cool, I have a couple other questions for you.
Okay.
All right. So I know you do a lot of variations, like you have films, different variations of films.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering what film you have the most variations of. Would you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I think probably some of the Disney animated movies. Definitely Toy Story.
Okay.
I got Toy Story, the first Toy Story movie, probably about 6 times in the collection, maybe even 7 times.
Nice.
Probably a lot of the Marvel movies, I'm sure, because they do so many different exclusives for those. Star Wars probably have quite a bit of those, but there's so many duplicates in this whole collection. Now, I used to be where I would just buy one, and then, months later, I'm thinking, man, why didn't I get that Steelbook, or why didn't I get that Digibook, or whatever? So now, instead of just missing out on it, I go ahead and just get one of everything.
Nice.
If possible. But I'm fortunate enough to be able, like I said, my kids are grown, so I can spend a little bit more on my hobby.
That's awesome. Well, I enjoy it because one of the things I like about watching your videos when you show the different variations is when I'm deciding which one I want to pick up, it's really helpful for other people to go, oh, that one, or this has got these extras or this artwork. And so
exactly.
I benefit from it quite a bit watching those videos. Because
I tried to, like at the end of the video, I'll show what I was featuring, and then I'll also show what other variations I have in my collection. So that way people can search out and see what they want. Because a lot of times, especially with the Disney films, they will re-release it and then re-release it, but with different special features. And I'm all about the special features. I think I get more value of my money whenever I get something that has a good commentary or special features afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think sets Criterion apart from everybody else is they crush it at the special features.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So the next question I have for you is there a Holy Grail variation out there that's always kind of on your radar, or it's in the eBay search that you're one day hope to find that one?
Yeah, I've got a lot of eBay searches that I've saved. So every day I get notified for items that I'm looking for. But as far as the Holy Grail, there's a lot of out of print titles that I missed out on.
Okay.
Free Willy is one of them.
Yeah.
My kids grew up watching Free Willy all the time, but for whatever reason, I never realized that it got released on Blu-ray, and then before you know it, it was already out of print. So I missed out on that one. And there's one called Lucas.
Yeah.
It's an older film. It's not older. It's been out for a while, but it goes for almost $200 on eBay.
Wow.
It's been out of print for a while, but those are the two I would really like to get a hold of.
Okay. Nice. What about a slipcover? Is there a slipcover out there that you're like, that you want to pick up that you haven't gotten?
I really honestly think that I've got all the slipcovers that I want. I pretty much grab them on release day. So I can't think of anything that I'm missing as far as slipcovers, but I'm sure there's something out there that I don't know about.
So today when I was prepping in my head of like, okay, chatting with Tony today, the questions I have, I was like, oh man, I think I need to confess something to him. So I know you're a slip guy and you have slipcover Saturdays.
Right.
And so I didn't know when I started collecting that the slipcovers mattered. And so I literally was getting them and I just tossed them in the trash because I'm like, it's just advertising what's already on the cover of this thing.
Right.
So I had bought, and I've since learned that it's tough to come by. I had found at a record store in Rochester, New York, Thor: A Dark World with the Loki slipcover. Mm-hmm. And I literally tossed it in the trash and have since come to find out that that's a little bit tougher to come by.
Yeah, it's amazing how, because, when you buy physical media, you're just after that disc in the movie or the film. But just to know that a piece of cardboard becomes so valuable, and so many people seek after them, especially with the Scream Factory titles, the horror movies and different things. But, I enjoy the slipcover as part of the purchase, purchasing. To me, it's what draws me to that item in the store. If it has a lenticular effect on it, or if it's really got a nice embossed slip on it, it really makes a difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do keep them now.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I won't make that mistake again. So I do keep them.
Yeah, I actually have a few websites that I go to that sells slipcovers.
Oh, really?
So I think I ended up having to buy a few of them from that website, but they're very expensive. So from now on, what I do is I just make sure I get it when they first release. Yeah. Because they're becoming more rare now.
That's true. That's true. And then my last question to you, this is purely selfish because it's my favorite film. And if there's anybody I know out there who might know if there are other variations I could buy, it'd be you. The Rocky films. Are there many variations of the Rocky films out there?
Not that I'm aware of. I know I've got a couple of slipcover editions, but mostly with the Rocky films, I just got the little box set that has all the films together. Okay. I do have one nice Rocky, the original Rocky, that has a nice image of Rocky on the front with the red. I want to say it has red, white, and blue stars on it. But it's a really nice one. Really? Yeah. That's awesome. I'd go grab it if I could. You want me to see if I got it on my shelf?
That's totally up to you.
Let me just see it right here. No, I don't have it handy. It's probably put away. No worries. I have to rotate through so what I have on the shelves, there's a lot of it I have to rotate through. So as you can tell, there's not very much space left. Right. So I do have some totes that I keep duplicates in, or, some of the special slip covers. That's awesome. I have a few in the Rocky franchise on VHS. I've got the original Rocky on the special limited edition DVD, and then I've got the Blu-ray box set. So I'm just waiting for them. I'm not a first day guy. I'm a thrift and guy. Right, but exactly. Rocky is one that the second that thing gets a 4K release, I'll be there before the store opens. Oh yeah, I love Rocky. I love all the Rocky movies. I do too.
Do you know if there's any conversation? Have you ever heard that film or that series, at least the first 5, coming to Blu-ray or 4K?
No, nothing that I've heard of.
Really? Because Rambo got released this past year.
Right. And they did a really nice set of that. I'm not sure what the holdup is on that one.
Well, I've heard so they're re-releasing Rocky IV in the theater, a recut of that, Stallone's director's cut this fall, I believe.
Oh, that's
and I've
good.
heard that Rocky IV will be coming out on 4K, but I'd love to have the whole set.
Kind of odd that they would just do that one and not do all of them.
I know.
Yeah.
One day.
So do you have a lot of VHS in your collection?
No, I have less than 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And because I don't even have VCR. And
Right.
so, but the Rocky, I only collect the Rocky, the older versions, because they have the great artwork. Then you have the newer release stuff that's super generic.
Right.
Dumb and Dumber, because it just means a lot to me. We've got 2 of the 3 original Star Wars.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So it's only a few, and I wanted them more to show my daughter someday, because it'll blow her mind to see a tape go into a machine.
Right. See, I grew up in the VHS era, so I've got hundreds of VHS tapes.
Oh, did you keep them?
Oh, I got all of them.
That's awesome.
Yep. So storage is a big issue at my house.
Build on an extra wing for your library.
And well, I actually do have a big old area where I keep all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just saw a news thing in the UK where I think it's in London. There's a VHS rental store that's exploding in business.
Oh,
and
wow.
They just went and bought tens of thousands of VHS tapes because the business is going so well. And
that's great.
You have all these people, millennials, who are tired of searching on streaming things and never finding anything. And they want the experience that we all grew up with, going to the store, holding it all. So
yeah, and that's actually where my collecting began, was just with the VHS tapes. And then when the kids were born, we started buying a bunch of the Disney DVDs.
Okay.
And, it just kind of progressed from there.
I love it. It's great. Well, cool. Well, I won't hold you up because you got to get your miles in today. So we'll dive right into the questions. So the 5 questions, I know you said you've seen a previous episodes. So it's a lot of it is I get to talk movies with friends, and that's fun. I like it because people get to know each other better. We get to know the YouTuber a little more through the films that they select. And then 25 film recommendations I get to have. And anyone who watches this episode will also get 25 film recommendations. So so that's the purpose and the reason. And the first question I have for you is, what 5 films have you most recently seen? And I have my phone here to make a list. So
okay, great.
All right.
And also, if you ever want to know what I'm watching, I am on Letterboxd. So I do catalog everything that I watch.
Right.
So if anybody's ever interested in that.
And I do follow you on TikTok now. I just started one. So
okay. I'm still trying to get it all figured out.
I do not have that figured out.
Yeah. So the 5 most recent films that I watched is, the first one is Double Jeopardy. This right here has Ashley Judd and Tommy Lee Jones in it. It's a, you said you've seen it before, but it's just a really fun film. I do like Tommy Lee Jones. I think he does a great job. And I do like thriller type movies, mysteries, revenge. There's a revenge element, of course, in this one. But that's a fun movie. I enjoyed that one. And then yesterday I watched Nobody.
Oh, how is that?
Oh man, this was amazing. So I always try to go into the movies that I watch blindly. I don't try to research them or anything, because I like the element of surprise. So Bob Odenkirk did a really good job in this one. He's just an everyday man, family man, seems real timid, and it just seems I'm trying to figure out what's so good about this movie. But then after the first act, it just takes a big turn, and there's more to him than what you would expect. And it was just action-packed, a lot of violence, blood. It was good.
Well, it's one
that's action movie.
It's been on my radar since the moment I saw the trailer, and I've heard a lot of comparisons to like a John Wick film.
Yeah, that's what
I love. John Wick films.
Oh yes, yeah. So it was really good. And then also I watched the day before yesterday. I watched Days of Heaven.
Okay, yeah.
So this right here is one that I revisited because I had already seen this one in the past. Of course, it's a Terrence Malick film. To me, what I like about it is just the cinematography. It's just a beautifully shot movie. Plus the special features afterwards, kind of giving you insight on what the filming process was. And I don't know if you're very familiar with this film or not.
Richard Gere, is he in that?
Yep, Richard Gere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very little dialogue in the whole movie. They pretty much, after the movie was filmed, cut most of the dialogue out and really focused on the cinematography and the music, the musical score. And then they had this new person, this young actress that had never done movies before. She actually narrated throughout the film.
Wow.
And which became, I think that's what really became most of Terrence Malick's films after that fact, was there's a lot of, I guess, narration done in the films. I haven't really seen very many of Terrence Malick's films. Anyway, I really enjoyed this one. And then, of course, I watched The Straight Story. And as you can see, this gentleman is on a riding lawnmower with a trailer behind him. And it's just a very interesting story where this gentleman is traveling a long distance to go visit his brother, who he had kind of fallen out with over the years. And throughout this journey of him going to visit his brother, he runs into other people along the way. And it's just a really beautiful story. So I really enjoyed that one.
I'm really looking forward to seeing that one.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Definitely recommend that one. And then, of course, I watched Nebraska.
Oh, awesome.
So this was another great story. As you know, you've seen this movie. This older gentleman was really trying to, I don't know, he seemed really determined and focused on winning some money to where he could buy a truck and leave something for his family, for his son. I guess he had two sons. I can't remember now. But and anyway, just the relationship between him and his son, and how, there was two sons, and even his wife. Crazy characters, but just knowing that he wanted to leave something for his son. It seems like him and his son didn't have a very good relationship. And just having his son there with him for this journey was just, I was touched by it. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah, and I was really surprised. I've never seen Will Forte in that kind of a role before.
Exactly. Usually he does comedies.
Yeah, he's an SNL, just crazy character guy.
Right.
And it was so well done. And I don't have many modern black and white films. And so I loved that was filmed in black and white.
I love it when they do that.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
It was. Yeah.
Nice. Well, those are great picks, man.
Thanks.
Those are good. And a few of those were in print.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. Nice.
If I get a new release, I usually try to watch open those up and try to watch them, especially if I've never seen it before.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Second question for you. What 5 films do you have your earliest memories from?
Okay. So growing up, we went to the movies all the time. I remember always going to the movies. Every weekend we would go see something. And there was a lot of times where we would go to the drive-in with my parents. So it was me. I have an identical twin brother, and we have another brother. And then my mom and dad would always go to the movies. If my mom was working, then my dad would take us and leave us at the theater, and we'd watch movies from as early as 7 years old.
Wow.
So of course, I grew up in the early 70s and the 80s. And so some of these movies are older. A lot of people probably haven't heard of some of these. But the first one is from 1976. It's The Bad News Bears. So we always grew up playing t-ball and baseball. We were always at the ballpark. So we was either at the movie theater or we was at the ballpark or at the skating rink. And so The Bad News Bears came out, and we went and saw that, and we just loved it. Just the dynamic of all the different kids. Have you ever seen The Bad News Bears?
Oh, yeah. I love Walter Matthau.
So they were a terrible ball team, of course. And which reminds me of the way we played ball, because we weren't very good either.
Okay.
But just having him there to, I guess, collect a paycheck. I forget exactly what it was that he was. He did it. He reluctantly coached this pretty bad ball team. But anyways, it was a fun movie. And then growing up in that era, we also saw a lot of Disney films in the theater. So I saw the Rescuers.
Oh, nice.
Straight Hair was from 1977 also. And I remember seeing a lot of Disney films back then, but most of those were like live action films, like Freaky Friday. There was a mule named Gus that played football. I can't remember exactly what it was called. I think it's Gus.
Yeah, with Don Knotts.
Yeah, Don Knotts. Yes, Hot Lead and Cold Feet, the Apple Dumpling Gang, all that stuff. But whenever it came to animation, I really love animation. I just remember seeing the Rescuers and the way that they intertwined the music and the characters. It just really stuck with me. So I've always loved the Rescuers. And Smoking the Bandit is one of my earliest memories. I think this right here was from 1977 also. I think they just had celebrated the 40th anniversary, I do believe. But I always loved Smoking the Bandit. I remember seeing this with my family and my grandfather, and we always just loved the car chases and Jerry Reed and Burt Reynolds, of course. But I always loved that one. So this next movie that I'm going to show, of course, is probably on a lot of people's earliest watch list, and that is Star Wars, A New Hope. So back when this came out, I actually got to see this when it was released in the theater back in 1977. I was 8 years old.
Wow.
So all these movies I saw 8 years old or younger, because I'm showing these in the order of the year. But I do remember seeing this one in the theater and just how amazing it was. Back then, we just called it Star Wars. We didn't call it A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars. And, we just loved that movie. We had never seen anything like it. And my twin brother, he's a big Star Wars fan. He's got, if you think this right here is crazy, he's got so much stuff. His whole house is done in Star Wars.
No way.
Figures, anything you can think of. He's a part of all kinds of clubs and groups and different things. So Star Wars has always been a big part of our life. Crazy. And then the last one is from 1978, I do believe, and it's Superman the movie. This right here was always one of my favorites. I always loved comic books and any kind of TV show that would have any kind of superhero on it. We grew up watching, and when this came out, this was top of the line. This was action-packed, colorful, had a good story, the villains, but as you rewatch these later on in your life, sometimes they don't hold up as well as what you remember, but this was always amazing to me. So that's one of my favorite memories.
Nice. And that movie, like seeing Star Wars in theater is like, people who were born after that, that's one of the ones where you just like, I wish I could have been there when that, like, same with like the first, like Rocky, when that came out. There's just certain films that you're like, if only I could have been in the theater for that. Jaws is the same one.
Yes, Jaws. We saw those in the theater.
That's awesome.
All the Friday the 13th movies, anything you can think of back in that era, we were at the theater, we were watching it. Even if they were rated R, as long as the parents were with us, we were allowed to go in.
Okay.
We saw all kinds of movies back then. You would never think that you would take a kid to a horror movie, but back then they didn't think anything about it.
That is wild.
James Bond movies. Man, I love James Bond. I remember seeing For Your Eyes Only in the theater.
Okay.
Just all kinds of great films.
So really movies are like foundational, like your love goes back to like as long as you can remember. Oh, yeah.
And that's probably why I got all of this. Just knowing that I have all this physical media in the collection, if I ever want to just find something, and a lot of things that you haven't seen in a long time, if you watch it, it kind of just triggers those memories. Yeah. So yeah, I really love it.
That's really cool. I think I only saw, as a kid growing up, theater wasn't a part of our life. So as a small kid, I can only remember I saw Benji in the theater. Yeah. That little dog.
We love that.
And Ernest Saves Christmas, I think, are my only two theater memories. Yeah.
Wow.
As a kid. So.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people give me a hard time about having so much in the collection. And there's a lot of stuff on the shelf that I've never opened up or watched, but I've actually seen the movie already. Right. And I just haven't gotten around to revisiting those movies. But believe me, I've seen so many movies throughout the years, and I still love it. I still love going to the theater. I used to go once a week back before the pandemic and everything, but I have been back since, the past year. I think I've seen about 8 movies in the theater since everything reopened, but I do love going and getting popcorn and just sitting down and just seeing everything on the big screen. I just love that experience.
I think too, like collecting, like having a collection like yours. I'm a big music fan, so I've always had a significant music collection.
Right.
And for me, it's like depending on the mood you're in, depending on who you're with. If you have a certain friend or family member over, and you're like, "Oh, you got to see this film." Like I know with my daughter being so young, now that she's getting a little older and she's like starting to appreciate music and things, there's certain albums I'm like, you have to listen to this album. Let's listen to it together. Let's go for a drive and listen to this.
Right.
And the same is true of movies. Like, oh, this movie really touched me, or this movie in this season of my life broke me, or this was so exciting. So to me, I almost see it as the same as music. Like you're pulling an album for the season, the moment, the relationship, the person.
Yeah, it triggers all those memories of, you can just, I remember the actual, some of these older movies, I actually remember going to the theater, what I was doing, what the theater looked like back then, because a lot of these theaters are long gone, but just the memories, it just kind of sticks in your brain.
That's the thing I like about physical media is it does trigger it. Like for me, an album is like that, like the actual texture of pulling the jacket out of the CD case, and then the smell of the actual case.
Right.
Like I remember when I got albums in middle school and high school, and just like I read this thing front to back 100 times. Right. I can tell you where it was recorded, who was in the band, and there's just something about it. And I think the same is true with movies.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love it. All right, next question. Question number 3 is, what 5 films have had the greatest impact on you? It can be an emotional impact, how it impacted your worldview, your life perspective, or none of those things.
Okay, so that was a hard one just because there's so many of them that trigger memories and make me feel certain ways. But first up, I'm going to talk about Kramer versus Kramer.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen this film.
I haven't. I'm going to write that down.
So it's got Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep in it. And, if you've seen Marriage Story.
Yes.
Okay, so Marriage Story is about divorce, of course. And Kramer versus Kramer is probably the first movie that really touched on divorce, to where I don't really want to spoil anything from the movie, but it's a family that there's a divorce involved, and of course there's a little kid involved. And the father ends up, with custody of the son. And just to know that the emotional value of what this family went through and what this father went through, it brings a lot of emotions. My mom and dad were divorced when I was younger. Of course, they were only divorced for maybe a year. So I remember that time. And I believe that's the time when we were seeing a lot of movies, where when we were with my dad, he would take us to the movie theater and we would see movies. But they were only divorced for a year, and then they got back together and remarried.
Wow.
But so I think this right here just triggered a lot of those memories. It's a beautiful story, well acted, as you can tell. I believe there was it's a winner of it won an Academy Award for Best Picture, all kinds of different things. The type is so small I can't see it without using a magnifying glass, but it's a beautiful film. I definitely recommend you check that out.
What year does that one come out?
19. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. I would have to look, and my eyesight's so terrible. I can pull out my magnifying glasses. I keep it right here at my desk. People make fun of me, but it's from 1979.
Oh, 79. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so people make fun of my magnifying glass, but if you can't see something, why not have one, right?
Well, I have probably in the last 4 haul videos I've filmed, grabbed the movie and was like, hey, I just got this one. It's from, turn around. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. And then I've just added the date in the top corner and editing at the end because I can't see half of it. So
yeah, I have a lot of conversations with different people, different movie collectors. And then when I pull out my magnifying glass, they kind of make fun, but it's all in fun.
It's all good.
I'm old. My eyes get bad. So my next one I want to talk about is Make Way for Tomorrow.
Oh, beautiful.
This is from the Criterion Collection. Have you seen this one?
It's amazing. I love it.
Man. So I had never seen this one before. And then someone recommended that I check this out. It might've been Stephanie, Movie Chatter. And to me, it was a beautiful story of this older couple. Everybody gets old. As you get older, your kids get older, they kind of separate from you and you're kind of left alone. And, it makes me think of my parents, my mom and dad. My dad recently passed away within, I think, maybe 2 years ago. So now my mom's, alone. And you think about, you get busy with your life, but yet she's there by herself. You got to make time for those people because, time goes by so fast. And, you're going to be in that situation one day too, where you're older and your kids are going to leave. So you want somebody to check in on you. But I don't always do the best job of spending time with my mom or even with my dad before he passed away, even though you think, oh, I got all the time in the world,
Yeah.
but your life gets so busy, you get so hectic that the days just go by and by and by. So this right here is a wonderful story. It shows that relationship with this family and their son and his family. So I definitely recommend that one.
That film made me like question so many things. Like it made me look at how my relationship with my parents,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of scary because you're thinking about one day that's my wife and I, like potentially,
Right.
like
Exactly.
and how they had to live apart from each other. Like that was just the reality. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was really heavy and it was beautiful. Like I don't want to ruin the movie for people watching this. Fast forward if you're watching this, you don't want to hear it. But
Mm-hmm.
that scene when they're eating dinner together, like
Mm-hmm.
near the end, the older couple, and they get to go on a date, is just like I was really happy, but I was almost in tears because just to see them together.
Right.
And like one day that won't be true. Like you won't be able to have dinner together,
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
that movie is just really so profound and
Yeah.
powerful.
Everybody needs to watch that movie.
Totally agree.
Okay, this next one that really set a tone with me is the Peanut Butter Falcon.
Super good.
You've seen this one?
Love it.
So, I kept on hearing great things about it, just never got around to watching it. But since I committed this year of 2021 to watch one movie a day, I actually got around to watching this one. And it's a beautiful story. Having someone with Down syndrome, I've got family members that have Down syndrome, and of course I understand what's going on and their the family dynamic and everything. But apparently, the main character in this film here, it was left in a home, I guess. Didn't really have any family members, so he was wanting to get out and get away from that place, and went on his journey to become a wrestler. He was focused on wrestling, and just the whole dynamic between him and Shia LaBeouf's character and Dakota Fanning. To me, I just thought it was beautiful the way that someone got with him and took him to fulfill his dream of becoming a wrestler. I won't say professional wrestler, but you get these ideas in your head. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. But when it actually comes to the time that you have to do these things, to me, I could see the fear in his eyes, because he wasn't really expecting it to be the way it was. But anyway, it's a good story. The next one I'm going to show you is a really sad movie, and it kind of touches on what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But The Father. So have you seen this one?
No, in fact, I've got it in my Amazon wish list, and it just dropped in price. And so
did it?
It's down to like 13 something. So
oh wow, that's great.
I was thinking about buying it this weekend.
Yeah, so this film focuses on this father and daughter, and the father is portrayed by Anthony Hopkins, and he has Alzheimer's, dementia, and doesn't remember what's going on from day to day. Something different happens. So we see this whole film in his perspective of what he sees and what he's thinking. And I've got family members, both my grandmothers passed away from Alzheimer's, and the way that they got. So it brought back a lot of memories of that to me. But just a beautiful story between this father and his daughter, and the suffering that he was going through, not being able to remember what's going on from day to day was just a good story.
Now, someone who saw it. I haven't seen it. I really want to. I have a lot of family affected by that, Alzheimer's and dementia. I heard from someone who saw it and said it's a film that you could rewatch over and over because you're going to see so many different things each time you watch it.
Right. Yes.
Did you find that to be true as well?
Oh, definitely. The way that they filmed this movie was in his perspective. So, people would change around. I guess if you're in that condition, you don't remember everybody. Even if they're your family members, they might look different. You might go back in time where they were younger, and in your mind, you would expect them to be a different age. And so the way that they filmed this was just amazing.
I got to see that one. I might buy it. The price drop went from like 24 to
that's
13.
good.
So,
Right.
yeah.
So this last one, which had a big impact on me, is called Beautiful Boy.
Yeah.
So I saw this one in the theater. Like I said, I like to go into my movies blindly, not really knowing what's going on. So, I heard that Steve Carell was in a movie. It was a drama. And so I went and saw this. Now, have you seen this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting to be so emotionally touched by the whole story. A family dealing with their son with addiction. I think a lot of families have someone that they know of that's suffering through addiction. I know my family does, and you think it's their fault. They've got themselves in that kind of situation, but addiction is addiction. No matter what kind of addiction it is, it's hard to work yourself through it. And just the portrayal of these two characters, the father and the son, but Timothy Chalamet did a great job portraying this person going through addiction, and just the sadness of the family and the father wanting to help his son get better. I know if I had that kind of situation in my immediate family with my sons, you would do everything that you can possibly do to get them through that situation. But it's just a very sad story. So I do love movies that make you feel sad, make you feel happy, make you feel something. If you just sit around and just watch a popcorn flick every day, you're not really getting much out of it except maybe some excitement. But it's always good to feel something.
I agree. I'd say a significant portion of my collection is that I need to have felt like this impacts my life in some way. Even like a John Wick is just ridiculous violence.
Yes.
It gives me adrenaline. Like I'm feeling something.
Right. Exactly.
And that movie, so I've got close friends who struggled pretty severely with addiction.
Mm-hmm.
That movie, I think if you haven't been touched by it, will help you, I think, have compassion for people who
definitely
are struggling.
Right.
Because it's heartbreaking watching Steve Carell crumble emotionally in that film. And then you rooting for that kid so hard,
right?
Watching him just self-destruct and you just knowing he doesn't want to be in that place.
Right.
But yeah, it's a powerful
and how
film.
It affects the whole family. It breaks up families.
Yes.
Husband and wife, they split up because of different situations, but it's tough.
Now, is that a Canadian release? Because it didn't get an American Blu-ray release, did it?
Nope. This right here, I want to say it's from Japan.
Okay.
It did not get a U.S. release that I'm aware of because I kept looking, and finally I got this one from I forgot the name of the company, but it's got the
very cool.
Japanese writing or Chinese. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, I know in Canada it got a release, and when I visit my folks, it's one of the ones that's on my list of when I go back to Canada to pick up.
Okay.
Yeah,
maybe we'll get one here. To me, I think that would be perfect on the Criterion Collection.
It would be. It's one of those films that would fit well in that collection.
I think it would too.
Yeah, and Steve Carell, I'm a huge Office fan. It's like one of my favorite TV shows.
Same here.
But his range is unbelievable, and that's one of the films that shows just how deep he can go emotionally.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love to see an actor do something different than what they're known for.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's awesome. All right. So question number 4, what 5 films do you consider to be underrated?
Okay. So that was another tough one. There's so many underrated films in my opinion. So I picked some that are just a little different. So Psycho Gorman is a film that I was told about last year. I don't know if you've ever seen this or not.
No.
But it is a sci-fi horror type movie that was done with all practical effects. So it kind of takes you back to the time when you watched a good movie that had all practical effects, special effects, all these different things. But it was just a fun movie. It was kind of a silly movie. If you think about the Power Rangers, that kind of stuff, the creatures that you see in the Power Rangers, the monsters, they look really terrible, but they're fun to watch. That's what that right there brings to my memory. So when I watched this for the first time last year, everybody that I came in contact with, I said, you got to watch this movie.
Okay.
I've shared this movie with so many different people that I work with that they just all love it. It's just a fun movie. I definitely recommend that one.
Okay.
Psycho Gorman.
Psycho Gorman.
Yeah, or PG for short. It's called PG for short.
Okay.
Okay, another one is this movie called Frailty. So I saw Frailty in the theater when it came out. This right here is Bill Paxton's. He directed this and starred in it with Matthew McConaughey, and it's a psychological maybe type film. It's hard to kind of to label it, but anyway, have you ever seen Frailty before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so this is a movie that I think everybody should see. It's just your typical psychological thriller type movie. And it is kind of religious. It's got some religious undertones where this father and his two sons are doing the Lord's work and getting rid of some people on this earth. And it's just a really good, interesting story. I revisited this one last week also and just really enjoyed it. It definitely holds up. So
Okay.
I would recommend that. Another underappreciated movie is Marrowbone. Have you ever seen this one?
No, never heard of it.
Marrowbone. I had never heard of it either until someone recommended this one to me. So that's what I love about people recommending movies.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if people recommend something, then that really must have made an impact on their life, their enjoyment. So whenever someone recommends something to me, I always try to check it out. So this right here is one of those movies. If you like haunted houses and you like kind of horror type undertones, nothing that's really got monsters or anything in it, but this is more of a ghost story. It's definitely a ghost story. Okay. If you like that kind of stuff, this is definitely one that you'd want to check out. It's got George McKay in it, who was in 1917.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's got Anna Taylor-Joy in it. But anyway, great performances. You either love it or you hate it. But I loved it. I loved it. It's got one of those surprise. It's a surprise type movie. Okay, another one that I watched recently is called Horns. Have you ever seen Horns?
No, I saw you mention it.
Yes.
Maybe it was on TikTok or something.
Maybe.
Or Instagram, somewhere.
Yeah, maybe under my underrated films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did a TikTok of underrated films. This definitely would be one of those. It's got Daniel Radcliffe in it. And as you can see, it's a fantasy type movie. But he has horns. And with this gift of having horns, which he started growing horns after this story unfolds, he's able to get people to tell him the truth. So when he asks someone a question, they have to tell him the truth. And he's trying to figure out what happened. So he was accused of murder, and he's trying to figure out how this murder happened. And throughout the story, this all unfolds. It's just a very interesting, humorous way of, to me, Daniel Radcliffe's very underrated. You know, everybody thinks of him as Harry Potter, but most of the films that I've seen after Harry Potter, he's just done a great job. And I think he's very underrated.
And that's called Horns?
Horns.
Okay.
Yep. And it's probably really cheap. I had never really even heard about it until someone recommended it to me.
I saw him I think in the US it's called What If. In Canada it's called The F Word.
Oh, really?
And it's like a romantic comedy. Adam Driver's in it. And Adam Driver, which, you know, wouldn't normally say this of Adam Driver, but he is the comic relief in the film. He is ridiculously hilarious. But I really enjoyed Daniel Radcliffe in that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I've seen that one, but I don't remember what the title of it was.
Yeah, the U.S. release is What If, and in Canada it's called The F Word.
Okay, I may have seen that one because I remember something with Adam Driver in it. But I've seen so many. Now that's one downside to watching a movie every day. Your mind can't consume. I can't remember everything that I've watched.
Sure.
That's what's good about Letterboxd, you know, because it'll tell me what I watched. But I see so much, it's hard to remember what I watched 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
But anyways, so my last underrated film is called American Animals. Have you ever seen this one?
No.
Okay, so this is American Animals. This is about a group of young men who are kind of bored with their life after college. You know, they're young adults. They don't really have much of anything going on in their life that's exciting. So they decide to start stealing very expensive books from these libraries or from this particular library. So they're just wanting some kind of excitement in their life. And they think, okay, what can I do? We can just, most of this was pretty much just thinking of what they would do if they were to be able to have this heist and steal something. And it just kind of goes from there. But I've never really heard anybody talking about American Animals before.
I'll write it down. That sounds super interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. If you can see this title, I mean, if you can see this cover art, they've got some masks at the top, and then there's the regular clothes at the bottom. But it's just a really interesting story.
And is that like widely available?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just very odd that I never heard of it. Somebody recommended this. All of these films that I just showed you were, other than Frailty, were recommendations from somebody else. Okay. I would have never in my life have come across any of these films if somebody in the community didn't recommend them to me. Because, like you just saw, you weren't familiar with any of these, really, were you?
No, not at all. No.
So definitely recommend you check those out.
Awesome. Well, my list's growing.
Yeah.
And the last question is, what 5 films bring you the most joy, hope, laughter? They put a smile on your face.
Okay, so some of these are probably going to be silly because they probably don't mean much to people, but these are all most of these are pretty popular films. But I do remember the day I saw these movies in the theater, and they do bring back a lot of memories, and there's different stories behind each. But the first one, of course, would be E.T.
Nice.
I remember seeing this one when this was released in the theater, and I was just amazed by it. Just a fun family film from Steven Spielberg with, I don't know, it just had that kind of childhood vibe to it. Of course, I was a child when this came out. It was just exciting and fun. The music, the characters, the young actors, it felt like something that I could have been involved in as a kid.
Yeah.
So it brings back a lot of fun memories. That
was one I saw a year ago. I rewatched it for the first time in decades, and it completely holds up.
Oh, it definitely does.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Now, the theaters near us, they do a lot of, they play old movies sometimes.
Oh, really?
So I got to see this one in the theater a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic. I got to see this in the theater, and it was just as amazing then as it was when I first saw it.
Wow.
Okay, this next one is Beetlejuice. So Beetlejuice is one of those films that came out when I was a young adult. I remember going to see this film with she's my wife now. Of course, we've been married 31 years.
Nice.
And I remember when this came out, we couldn't see it in the theater near us here where we live. And we weren't married at this time. This is before we got married. So we drove all the way to another state just to go see this. Plus, it was just an adventure for us just to get out and go and do a road trip or whatever. So I just remember everything about that road trip and going to see this movie with her. And we just laughed during the movie. It was so funny. All the different characters that were in there. We enjoyed the story. So it just brings back a lot of fun memories.
Nice.
Another one that's similar to that is the Goonies. So the Goonies is another young one, another younger type film where it's a cast of all young people. And it kind of reminds me of what E.T. is. Just the main focus of the story is on young people. And I just enjoy the adventures that they go through. And the story is just a fun movie. So that brings back a lot of fond memories and some funny memories. Okay, the next one is Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
So Forrest Gump, of course, is just an amazing film. Either you love it or you hate it. It's one that's on TV all the time. It was just on TV yesterday, which is probably what triggered my memory to pick this up. But I just enjoyed the performance of Tom Hanks. I really enjoyed the story of how they tied him into so much historical stuff throughout time. Meeting the presidents, inventing different things, just the running. He ran and he ran and he ran till he just stopped.
Yeah. And
just all the people that he came across. It's just a fun movie to watch. Plus, I love Sally Field also. And
oh yeah.
Anything with Tom Hanks and Sally Field in it's great for me. And then lastly, one that brings a smile to my face is Eddie the Eagle. Now, this could go under the underrated films also, but this right here is a great true story. Have you ever seen this one before?
No.
Okay, so this is one of those movies like Cool Runnings.
Oh yeah.
It's an Olympic type film, true story based on this young man who wanted to be in the Olympics. It also has Hugh Jackman in it, which was great. I don't know. It's really hard to explain the movie, but this is a true story. And if you like special features like I do, after I watched the film, I searched everything I could think of about this. Anything that's a true story, I always try to research it afterwards because usually it makes a big impact on me. But those are the ones that I love.
Nice. That's awesome. I added that last one to. I have not seen that one. I think I may have seen the cover of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I had never heard of it either. Somebody recommended this one.
That's
Eddie
awesome. Well, this is cool. You brought a ton of films that no one else has talked about. And this is, I think, the 8th episode. Yeah. So that's a lot of films that have been talked about. So.
All right. That's great.
That's been good. Well, that's awesome. Very cool. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this.
Yep, it's fun.
Yeah. Do you have some? I know you just passed an anniversary on your channel.
Yeah, 9 years on YouTube.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, I kept on thinking it was 8 years, but then it was 9 years. That's how old I am. So maybe there would be a big celebration for 10 years.
For 10 years, yeah.
Hopefully.
Now, what would you, for advice? I'm a year and a half in. I've got some other friends who I started at about the same time with. Is there certain advice you'd give for people who are starting out or smaller channels? And
yeah. When you start doing YouTube, you try to imitate people. You try to do things that other people do because you want people to watch your content. But I just say, just be yourself. Don't try to put on any kind of facade because people can see right through that. I try to be as genuine as possible. Usually the videos I put out are really quick. I try to keep them under 5 minutes because I know myself. It's hard sometimes to find enough time to watch longer videos unless it's like a live stream or something like that. But just be yourself, be genuine. I always love to reply back to comments. There's a lot of people that comment on my videos. I love to meet new people, to interact. So definitely if you can get an audience that you enjoy interacting with, then they'll just keep coming back.
Cool.
And I know my videos are not the best in the world as far as I'm very introverted. I'm not very I don't have a lot of elaborate speeches or fancy things to say. I'm usually just right to the point and get it done.
Well, I love your content, and it's funny if I'm going to do anything at all in life, I have to research the entire thing and study it first before I do it, which is lame. I should probably just jump into stuff and experience it first. But when I was researching YouTube, all of this content information of your video has to be between 10 and 12 minutes and all of these things that you're doing. And then I found a channel like yours and you come out, you're right. And your video, you're like, this is what it is. Thanks so much. Leave a comment. I'll talk to you later. And I was like, I was looking at your channel. I was like, man, his channel is exciting. Not only does a large channel, but there's the community comments. There's a lot of conversation going on. And so your channel was a really good one for me to see. Cause I was like, you know what, the whole formula thing that you've researched and figured out, whatever, there's people just doing their own thing. So that was really encouraging to me to be sure I'm just doing what I do and not worry about trying to copy something or figure out a formula. And at the end of the day, it's not about trying to just generate those numbers. It's about the actual community of it.
Because it's really not about the numbers for me or the money. There's no money involved,
Yeah.
But it's just nice to meet people. And you're doing a great job on your channel. I mean, you're so eloquent. You got a nice personality. You speak very plainly. I have a terrible speech. I'm from Georgia. I got weird accents. People make fun of me all the time. But just so do what makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right. The people I've met, like this is obviously our first time talking, but
Mhm.
you've been super. Like I reached out to you, just whether commenting on your stuff, and you've always been really generous in just commenting right back. And channels like Stephanie at Movie Chatter, she's just like I've just met the coolest people. So Joe and Marie, down to movie. I was like, I reached out to them when I got started, and everybody's been just like super kind and
It's
welcoming in.
right. It's amazing how large this community is. You would think that me doing this for 9 years, I would know everybody, but you would be amazed to know all the new people that I meet every single week, every single month. I just came across you not long ago.
Right.
Ken at Mid-Level Media, him and Michelle. I didn't know all of these people back, last year.
Right.
So I've met a lot of people over the years and just I feel like just become really good friends. I know we just talk on camera, but it's nice to meet everybody.
My wife was teasing me. She said, I said, hey, are you cool if I jump over to, I got to do a Zoom call tomorrow. She's like, who's it with? I was like, it's Tony. She's like, who's Tony? And I was like, oh, Tony. And I started explaining it. And she was teasing me because I talk about my YouTube friends, like they're friends that are part of both of our world, but they're really just part of my world.
Right, exactly.
And so she always gives me the business, but she finds it really cool that there is a close-knit community, even though the vast majority of us have never physically met each other.
Right. Yeah, I keep trying to get my wife to come on camera with me just to talk, but she has no interest in it either.
No, my wife wouldn't. I couldn't pay her to do this.
No.
Now, are you guys similar type of films? Like, do you guys a lot of films you watch together?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have a lot of them that we like together.
Okay.
She works. I thought I worked a lot, but she works. She's always working.
Okay.
She's barely home. So she works from sun up to sundown most of the time.
Wow.
She works in retail, so she has a very tough job.
Wow.
But whenever she's home, she watches a lot of TVs. I always have a lot of good recommendations for her to watch.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome. Well, Tony, this was really great, man. I've really enjoyed getting to meet you today. And again, genuinely honored that you were up for doing this.
Oh, so, I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah. So thank you so much. This is great. And anything in particular coming up on your channel that you want to make people aware of, or?
Not really, just the usual slipcover stuff. We have Halloween coming up, which is going to be fun. I know that you did a video a day for the month not long ago.
Yeah.
I thought about doing something for October, but too much. It's way too much to come up with something, as you know, coming up something unique every single day. But I do hope to focus a lot on my horror collection, my Scream Factory collection, my steelbooks, and then we also have just tons of new stuff coming out September, October, and November. So it'll be fun.
Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing all your content. I watch it all the time. So thanks for doing what you do, and thanks for being such a great person in this community, and especially for people like myself who are newer. So thanks so much for all you do.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, John. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy those miles you're going to put in a little later.
Yes, I dread it.
Well, then, sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm committed to it, though.
That's a great commitment, man. It's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was telling my wife today, I was getting ready this morning, I was watching some of your videos, and again, you talked about your commitment of a movie a day, and I was like, man, that is awesome. That's a great commitment. So when my daughter is a little older and I can start watching movies earlier in the day, I think that'll work. So
yeah, if we didn't have to work a job, it'd be even better. We could just watch movies all day, but somebody's got to pay for all of this stuff, right?
There you go. Cool. Well, thanks again, Tony. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, we'll see you later.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Friends, thank you so much for checking out this conversation that I got to have with Tony. Please do, if you have not subscribed to his channel, you should have already when we first talked about it at the beginning of this video. But if you haven't already, check down below in the description for YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. He's such an awesome guy. I hope you enjoyed the conversation we had. Please do subscribe to him, follow him, subscribe, all that stuff. And I promise you it's worth it. Really, really great guy with amazing content he's putting out on a regular basis. So friends, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. Episode 9 will be coming soon. If you like this video, please do hit like, subscribe if you want more of this kind of content. And again, as always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.